Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we have got this week's edition of This Week in SEC Basketball. I'm coming at you guys a day early, and what I wanted to do was be a little less, ABCs, analytical data points, just doing game previews and recaps. I wanted to do more storylines because I think that, recaps you can find anywhere, recaps you can really find on your own. But storylines, I think, are just way more fun to talk about and give you guys my own perspective on what is going on in the SEC. Now, the league as a whole, obviously, is not as strong as it was last year. I mean, last year's SEC was a historically strong and elite conference, but that doesn't mean that there are less teams that can make noise in March. And doesn't mean that it's any less entertaining watching this league week in and week out. So let's just start with the team at the top. The Florida Gators. They are absolutely red hot right now. I made a video yesterday before this game against Texas for the Gators. I thought they were in trouble. I thought that, this was a trap spot because you look at, Florida's other road games in the SEC, other landmine trap spots that they've been in recently. The lines have still been like 12 or 11 points. Like the Gators have still been the clear objective favorite, even though these teams, they have, good players, they've won some good games. You haven't really seen that be reflected in the lines. Then yesterday, Texas is only catching like 6 points. And the Longhorns have been a team that I've been pretty high on, as a bubble team, as a tournament team. And then Florida had to go to Austin. It was a game for Texas to really solidify their tournament resume. And they pulled away and still won the game by double digits again, with only 5 points from Thomas Houck, only 5 points from Ruben Chinyelu. Like the Gators, even when their best players are absent, someone else is going to step up. Boogie Flant is starting to make threes. He had 20 plus points. Alex Condon is red hot. He had 20 plus points. Florida shot 44% from deep in this game, too. Like the 3-point shot for the Gators is starting to fall. And what that makes Florida, there's a word for it. It's unstoppable. If Florida is making threes, that front court depth is never going to have a bad day overall. No one can beat them. They will go back to back if Florida can shoot this well from deep. And just the fact that they're on now, what's his win streak? 8 straight wins, I believe. I don't think they lose the rest of the season. You get Arkansas and Mississippi State at home, then they go to Kentucky to close it out. Florida, man, this team, first off, they are a 2 seed. I've had enough with the 3 seed line for the Gators. This is a 2 seed. If they win out and they go win in Nashville, guys, that 4th 1 seed spot is kind of open because you're seeing the Big 12 sort of cannibalize each other. Illinois, I'm not really sure is there. Purdue, Michigan State, I'm not really sure that they're there. UConn, if they fall out of the Big East tournament early. Like, Florida could go as high as that 4th 1 seed, in my opinion. They probably won't. They probably will be a 2. But, this Gators team, just the depth. You're seeing the depth of the front court, obviously, is incredible. The back court, the guard play is really developing. Isaiah Brown is probably the best college basketball player that nobody's talking about in the entire country. The winning plays that this guy makes, even when they aren't, on the stat sheet, are incredible. And then you watch what he does do that is recorded on the stat sheet. You're like, that's a hell of a play, man. Like Isaiah Brown is so good. He solidifies that 8-man rotation for the Gators. Man, Florida is Final Four good. Again, I think they get to the Final Four right now. You've seen like all these projections, like the 1 seeds versus the field, Houston, Michigan, Duke. I think you have to put Florida in that conversation right there, where it's Florida and these other teams versus the field. That's how good they are. Florida, man, I think they go to the Final Four. I think they have what it takes to repeat as champions, and they should lock up the SEC regular season title soon. This Saturday, if they beat Arkansas and Tennessee beats Alabama, they will clinch it. If they beat Arkansas, they clinch at least a share of it, and they just need to then go beat Mississippi State to finalize that. So Florida should be regular season SEC champions for the first time since 2014, be the favorites to go win that tournament, and be one of the favorites to take it home again this season. Moving on now to another team that I think is incredibly dangerous. I'm going with Alabama Crimson Tide here. I talked earlier this week about just how, how dangerous Alabama can be. They have not been getting the same recognition or the same hype that they have in the past few years. And it's fair. They're losing more games. They don't have the super obvious superstar power, even though LeBaron Philon should be getting it. But this Nate Oates' team, man, they are scoring the most points in the country, which isn't really a surprise. And why that's kind of snuck up on people is because they weren't shooting the ball super well from deep for a period there, towards the beginning of SEC play. The shots weren't falling. You had the storyline of Charles Bediako really dominating the media. So instead of, oh, look, Bama won last night, it was, Charles Bediako is playing for Alabama. That was the headline. It wasn't what happened in the game. Now that Bediako is gone, Bama has won 7 straight games. And they scored 100 points last night without LeBaron Philon. They scored 100 points without arguably the best player in the SEC, the most important player in the SEC. They made 22 threes while doing it. And what was so amazing to me about that game, too, is that 63 of those 100 points came in the first half. And what that showed me is that, imagine Philon as a part of that, first of all, but what it showed me is that they're never out of a game. Like, let's say they get to the Sweet 16, they're playing a top 3 seed, and they're down by 12 at half. They're not out of any game because they can come out and hit 12 threes and a half and score 55, 60, 65 points on you in 20 minutes. They're never out of a game. And the shooting is coming around. This team is getting hot. They're peaking at the right time. So sure, is their defense horrible? Yeah. Defense is miserable. They're not going to hold anybody under 80 or 85. But if they score 100, I don't care. If they're able to put up back-to-back 50-point halves, which I believe they can do consistently, I don't care. Obviously, defense is incredibly important. I'm not going to sit here and say defense doesn't matter. It does literally win championships. If you score more than the other team, it's over. It sounds like I'm being condescending there, but it's obvious. Bama is going to outscore you if they're shooting well. And I believe that they can keep doing that. Bama is so dangerous. They're not getting as much respect as I believe they should be heading into Nashville, heading into March. Alabama, you got to look out for them, man. They're getting hot. They have Philon, they have Holloway. Their bigs are fine. That's really the knock on them. But if they make 22 threes, doesn't really matter. So Bama is incredibly dangerous. A team that I thought was going to be dangerous, and now I don't think as much anymore, is Kentucky here. I talked earlier in the week about how this South Carolina game for Kentucky that they won was like the most pressure-packed game in the Mark Pope era, which sounded weird to say because they're just playing at Carolina in a midweek. But if they had dropped that game, it would have been 4 straight, and their tournament hopes would have all of a sudden been in flux because they're trying like an 8 or a 9 seed right now. You drop that game to Carolina, how much fight is left in your team? Because you're going from playing in Gainesville for first place in the SEC to now, can we hold on against the Gamecocks on the road? Like, it's been such a roller coaster for Kentucky. And the talent really isn't the problem, you wouldn't think. Denzel Aberdeen is great. Otega Owe, we know who he is. Colin Chandler is a sniper. Malachi Moreno is really coming on down low. Diabate is great down low. Just something's a little bit off with them. And then they haven't been able to play up to that potential. Now, they won the Carolina game. So they kind of got past that sort of, could this be a disaster spot? The rest of their schedule, they host Vanderbilt on Saturday, which is tricky. They go to A&M, which is kind of, you're playing on the road in conference. I'm not super high on A&M, but the Aggies could beat them there. I think they actually might. And then they host Florida to end the year. Can you win 2 of those if you're Kentucky? Can you go 3-1 to end the year after that 3-game losing streak, have some momentum going into the SEC tournament in Nashville, try and rattle off some wins, and I'm not really sure they can do much to really improve their seed line at this point, but can you just go in there feeling good about yourself? Can you go in there playing your best basketball? Can you be feeling confident? Because the past, that 3-game losing streak, it's human nature to naturally lose confidence, especially when one of those games is a loss at home to Georgia. And, to an Auburn team that might not make the field. But if you're able to rattle off some wins, whether that be against Vandy, or maybe they do get that home game against Florida to end the year, you can really get confident, start playing your best ball. And this Kentucky roster, I said it a few weeks ago, after they beat Tennessee for the second time, I said their ceiling is the Elite 8. Like, they can do that because of how talented that team is. I still think I believe that's true. Even though they have had this bad stretch, because when they're clicking, like this team, they complement each other so well, and there's enough talent to where they can play with anybody. And as long as you're in a game late, 2 threes go down, you win the game. So I still believe their ceiling can be 3 wins in the tournament, but we'll see what Kentucky team we get, because we've gotten the range of performance for Kentucky is massive. It's really big. And that unpredictability makes it hard to rely on a team in March, obviously. But just if, I know it's a big if, but if they're good for 2 weeks, this team can make a lot of noise and make a run in the tournament. We'll see what kind of Kentucky team we get, and obviously that begins with how they close out the regular season. But a team that I do believe has told us who they are is the Auburn Tigers. Auburn, they're still projected in the field. We'll get an update from Lenardi tomorrow, so we'll see where his head is at with it. But the Tigers, man, they're 15-13 overall. They are 6-9 in the SEC. They have lost 6 of their last 7 games. That lone win being the Kentucky win at home, and the loss to Oklahoma. That people are gonna look at that broad strokes as like, wow, Oklahoma's record is horrible. That's a miserable loss. It actually isn't that bad of a loss if you stop there. The fact that they got embarrassed, beaten by 12, weren't really in the game late. That's the part that's bad. Like Oklahoma, sure, you can point out how, they shot better than average. There's a pattern with Auburn of the other teams shooting from deep better than average. At a certain point, it's not, we got them on a bad day. It's we are not defending the 3-point line. Auburn isn't defending the 3. That's why we go way back to the Iron Bowl of basketball. That's why I picked Bama to win that game in the jungle when both those teams were really, really good because they couldn't defend the 3. And then Bama shot the ball well from deep and beat them. There are so many holes with Auburn's team. Keyshawn Hall, supposed to be the superstar. He is playing really, really well. There seem to be some character issues, maybe. I don't want to say character issues, but chemistry issues, I should say. I'll say chemistry issues with the team, him and Stephen Pearl. There's obviously animosity going on within that program, just like some serious tension. Emotions are high because they're struggling. This team is telling us who they are at this point. They're a team that can't win consistently. Will they pick up wins against a team like Kentucky? Yes, and they have wins over Florida. They have a win over Arkansas, although they split that series. They have a win over St. John's. But when you've lost this many basketball games, they've lost 13 basketball games already. And I have no reason to believe that they'll go 3-0. I think they'll lose at Bama again because the three-point shooting I talked about. Ole Miss and LSU aren't slouches. They get them both at home. Like, this team's going to lose a lot of games. And at a certain point, strength of schedule, it does matter, but so does the amount of losses you pile up as a basketball team. I'm out on Auburn for the tournament. But coming into this week, I said you've got to go 3-1, and that one loss has to be Alabama, or you probably have to win the SEC tournament to make it to the tournament. That's where I'm at. Auburn, unless they go win the tournament in Nashville, I think should stay home. Or, they'll get an NIT invite. I'm not sure they'll do it. But I don't believe that this Arkansas team is a tournament team, period. If they get in, whatever, but I don't trust them at all. I just don't. This is like, they also have a similar talent profile. Like I talked about how Kentucky, they can kind of peak and maybe beat some good teams. I just haven't seen that click with Auburn ever. They have that win against Florida, but since then, like, that was clearly their best performance. They haven't been able to match it yet. So they caught lightning in a bottle. Auburn, not there for me. I don't believe they are a tournament team. But let's go to the bubble real quick. Let's just say on the concept of the tournament. Texas, Missouri, and Georgia. I put out a video this morning about how they're all favored to make the tournament on DraftKings. So is Auburn technically, by the way, like minus 120. I hate that. We'll see how it plays out. But Texas, I talked about it in the beginning of that game against Florida, how that really was a chance for them to solidify their resume. We are a tournament team. Make the field. They dropped it. But I'm not going to hold that against them. It's Florida. So for the Horns, they're 8-7 in conference, 17-11 overall. The rest of their schedule, they go to A&M on Saturday, good game. They go to Arkansas next midweek, really good game. And then they have Oklahoma at home to end the year. Can you find a way to go 2-1? Because 1-2, I'd imagine they're still on the right side of the bubble. If it said they only beat A&M, only beat Oklahoma in that stretch. But then you probably have a little bit of pressure in Nashville to go maybe win 2 games. Versus if you're able to go 2-1, I think you can just win your first round game or maybe even lose your first round game in the SEC tournament and still be okay. So this is a very important 3-game stretch for Texas. Also because they've dropped their last 2 now at Georgia and versus Florida. So they have to go to College Station to play the Aggies, looking to avoid a 3rd straight loss. And, I think that by and large, the selection committee, they do a really good job of avoiding recency bias when it comes to seed lines. But if they lose to A&M, maybe they then go lose to Arkansas too. Then you're at 4 straight losses. And then the buzz might get a little bit louder about Texas as, maybe on the wrong side of the bubble. So they got to find a way to go 2-1 here in that final stretch. maybe pick up a win in Nashville. But Texas overall, I do believe, is in a good spot to make the tournament. And Missouri, I'm in a similar spot. They lost that game to Texas a few weeks ago. That was a big time bubble showdown. But then they came back this week, beat Tennessee at home on Tuesday. This is a team that's 19-9 overall, are the Missouri Tigers. And the rest of their schedule is much easier than Texas. They go to Mississippi State, to Oklahoma. So they're not like easy games, but they're easier relatively. And they get Arkansas at home to end the year. That Arkansas win, it would split the season series. It'd be a ranked win, quad one win. And the other two road games, I don't know about State, but Oklahoma will also be a quad one opportunity. So Missouri has these opportunities lined up in front of them. You have T.O. Barrett playing great basketball. You know what Mark Mitchell is. You know that you have some shooters if you are the Tigers. I like Missouri's chances a lot to make the tournament also. And Georgia, they're a team that I was out on, maybe 7 days ago. I was totally out on them 7 days ago. And then all they do is win at Rupp and beat Texas. And they gave Vandy a good shot yesterday. Couldn't quite pull that one out. But the rest of their schedule, they get South Carolina at home. Has to be a win. They get Bama at home. That would be that would be their lock-in game for the tournament. If they go 2-0 here, they beat Carolina and they beat Bama at home. I think you can probably write the Bulldogs in. Their last game is at Mississippi State, but if they beat Bama, I think that could be, okay, we're good. Maybe it's Dayton, but we're good. Georgia, I do believe, also makes the tournament. So these three bubble teams, Texas, Missouri, and Georgia, I do believe all make it in. A&M is also somewhat bubbly, but I think that they're fine. I'm not really sure that we're going to have a conversation about them. But Auburn, I do believe, is a team that misses out. So the SEC will be a 10-bid league without Auburn getting in. And that'll do it. Those are the storylines for this week in the SEC. I'll be coming out with preview stuff for all the games on Saturday throughout the week here on YouTube, on TikTok, on my Twitter. So follow me there for all of those. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I've been Will Thomas.